If you ask 5 product managers to name the most important product metrics to track, you're likely going to end up with 5 completely different answers and grounds for some healthy debate. This is because when it comes to data, today's product leaders find themselves in a paradox of choice. There are so many product metrics you could be tracking, but it's not always clear which ones you should be tracking. Gone are the days of a lack of access to meaningful product data. Instead, product practitioners of all levels are tasked with honing in on the metrics that will be most impactful. Those that will help them understand how users navigate their product, how product usage correlates with positive outcomes, and how their product impacts the business's bottom line. With effective measurement in place, product teams can base decisions on data and build products that both meet and exceed users' needs and propel the business forward. Product-led companies go so far as to rally the entire organization around product data as a central resource and shared language. So they better make sure they're measuring the right things. The right KPIs for any one company to track will ultimately depend on its product, business maturity, and overall goals. But we believe that there are 10 that every product manager should have on their radar. Whether you're a PM who's deeply involved in the day-to-day or an executive who cares more about the big picture, these metrics will provide a foundation for your product analytics strategy. Before we dig into the individual metrics, it's important to zoom out and understand the different types of KPIs at your disposal. Here are 3 categories to keep in mind. The first category is business outcomes. Your product impacts key business and financial outcomes both in the short and long term. Most notably, your product experience directly affects customer retention and attrition, which in turn impacts revenue numbers. The second category is product usage. As the name suggests, these KPIs reflect how users behave inside your product. Which features do they use the most? Where are they getting stuck? How many users continue accessing the product over time? While product usage data is useful on its own, it's even more powerful when combined with qualitative metrics like customer sentiment and feedback. The third category is product quality. These KPIs measure how well your product is doing what it's supposed to do. What is your product response time? How much downtime did you experience last month? For quality metrics, it's often best to set an internal benchmark and measure yourself against it monthly or quarterly. Now, let's get into the list of 10 KPIs that product-led teams need to know. Number 1 is net revenue retention, or NRR. This KPI answers the question, how much revenue is my product retaining from existing customers? NRR is the percentage of revenue retained from your existing customers over a given period of time. Put simply, it's the difference between expansion and churn. NRR is generally expected to be a value above 100%, with the assumption that you're going to lose some customers, but you're also going to find ways to expand the value of the customers that you keep. How do you measure NRR? As the definition suggests, you can measure NRR by subtracting churn from expansion, which requires 4 values: monthly recurring revenue of the last month, revenue generated through upsells and cross-sells, revenue lost due to downsells, and revenue lost due to churn. NRR is a valuable metric to track because it is all-encompassing. It takes revenue, expansion, and churn all into account. Product teams should always be looking to increase net revenue retention since it represents key goals of expanding customer value and minimizing churn. And there's no question executives, investors, and the rest of your company will want to know how much revenue your product can generate and retain. Number 2 is adoption. This KPI answers the question, are users adopting my product and key features within it? Adoption is an activation metric that measures how many users interact with your product or specific features within it. By understanding how or if customers adopt and use your product, you'll have a clear sense of whether the product is delivering on its intended value. There are two types of adoption: product adoption and feature adoption. Here's a breakdown of how to measure each. Product adoption can be expressed over time by the number of monthly active users, weekly active users, or daily active users. You can also measure product adoption as a rate relative to new user signups for a given period of time. The way you choose to measure product adoption will largely depend on what it means to be an active user of your product. If your software is one customers should be accessing every day, a daily active user metric might make the most sense. Or if your product is B2C, you might want to look at the frequency of conversions or purchases or time spent in the app. Measuring feature adoption is similar to that of product adoption, except you instead track a specific feature or features within the product. One common way to track feature adoption is by the percentage of features that generate 80% of click volume. One key moment to measure feature adoption is after you've launched a new feature. Use your product analytics tool to look at what percentage of users initially adopt the feature, and more importantly, how many continued to use it after your promotional campaign tapered off. We suggest looking 30 days after a launch to understand drop-off patterns. It's also valuable to examine feature adoption at the user level and the account level. Measuring at the user level will allow you to better understand the behavior of your target persona, and measuring feature adoption at the account or company level will help you separate out those who may not have needed the functionality because of their role or permissions level. Morgan Stanley offers a great example of improving adoption in practice. Their ShareWorks product is an equity management platform that enables employers to offer investment options to their employees. They started using product analytics to understand where new users were getting stuck, and then created in-app guides and tooltips to help drive optimal usage and adoption of the platform. Product data also helped the ShareWorks team identify features with low adoption, so they could better prioritize improvements. The product team can then share metrics like adoption rate or usage trends with the sales, customer relationship, and customer success teams, enabling them to enhance their conversations with customers with objective data. Number 3 is stickiness. This KPI answers the question, do users keep coming back to my product? As a product team, you need to build a digital experience that not only attracts new users, but ensures those users stick around and continuously engage with your product. One way to understand if you're doing this is through stickiness, which measures how many users return to your product on a regular basis. The best way to measure stickiness is through a ratio that can be calculated 3 different ways: monthly users who return daily, weekly users who return daily, monthly users who return weekly. To determine which ratio to use, start by identifying what ideal engagement with your product looks like. Some products, like a project management tool, are meant to be used daily, while others, like a mobile banking app, are geared towards weekly or even monthly usage. Once you've determined your product's ideal engagement levels, you can select the stickiness measure that aligns best with your needs. Now, why does stickiness matter? Save for the rare type of software application that's only meant to be used once or a few times, every product manager wants users to continue engaging with and finding value in their product. Stickiness not only helps you quantify how frequently users return, it also provides valuable insight that you can use to drive higher engagement across your user base. For example, after examining the behaviors of your highest frequency users, you can then encourage similar workflows with the rest of your users. Number 4 is growth. This KPI answers the question, is my product acquiring and retaining new users faster than existing users are abandoning it? Growth measures the net effect of your user acquisition and retention efforts. Whether it's achieved by adding new accounts or increasing usage within existing accounts, or both, growth is a common top-line metric for modern product teams and a key indicator of product engagement. One of the simplest ways to measure product growth is to track the percentage growth of users or accounts within a given time period. Mathematically, the growth calculation for a given time period looks like total number of new users plus recovered or retained users divided by the number of dropped or churned users. While it's easy to get caught up in making the product better, faster, and easier to use, teams still must ground themselves in an engagement metric like growth. If you're not able to effectively grow your user base and keep the users you already have, the work you and your team put into improving your product becomes a lot less relevant. Number 5 is Product Engagement Score, or PES. This KPI answers the question, how are users engaging with the product overall? Just as there are many KPIs to measure product success, there are multiple ways to measure product engagement specifically. PES exists to provide product leaders with a single metric to measure how users or customers engage with the product. PES is a composite metric, taking the average of one's adoption, stickiness, and growth rates. The goal is to make it easy to quickly understand how your product is performing. Here is a breakdown of the components of the product engagement score. Adoption is the average number of core events adopted across all active visitors or accounts divided by the total number of core events multiplied by 100. Stickiness is the average daily or weekly active visitors or accounts divided by the average weekly or monthly active visitors or accounts multiplied by 100. Growth is the total number of new users plus recovered users divided by the number of dropped users. Once you've calculated values for adoption, stickiness, and growth, you can calculate your PES by simply taking the average of the three numbers and multiplying by 100. One of the biggest benefits of leveraging PES is that it boils down engagement to one number, giving you a single go-to metric for reporting product success. Yet, PES is equally useful in helping you understand where you can improve. Since the score takes the average of a product's adoption, stickiness, and growth values, you can quickly identify which metric is bringing down the average. By digging into each number, examining trends over time, and comparing scores for visitors and accounts, you'll be able to understand the why behind each metric, identify areas for improvement, and experiment with different tactics to boost each component of PES. To help illustrate the value of PES, here's an example of how one company used this KPI to make data-driven decisions. Prior to leveraging PES, the user experience team at IHS Markit had to patch together many different metrics to paint a picture of product health. Now with PES, the team has a single metric they can use to understand product success and friction. PES also provides a common language for teams across the organization to collaborate around things like improving adoption or optimizing onboarding. Number 6 is retention. This KPI answers the question, are users building enduring habits inside the product? Retention measures the percentage of users still using your product after they initially install or start using it. The two main types of retention are user retention and customer retention. User retention looks at the individual who logs in to use the product, and customer retention looks at the account that pays for access to the product. Another way to think about retention is as the inverse of churn. As with measuring adoption, you can measure retention for the product overall or for specific features. Since product usage data is most valuable when measured over time, app retention measures how many users or customers continue using an application during a given time period. Measuring feature retention gives you an understanding of which features keep your users returning and helps you identify any users who are at risk. The fewer features a user interacts with, and the less often they interact with them, the less likely they are to continue seeing value in your product. To take measurement a step further, we also recommend segmenting your data, for example, by role, company size, or free users versus paying customers, to compare feature retention across different subsets of users and determine how their behaviors differ. Measuring retention is key because if you're not able to retain customers, it directly impacts your company's revenue numbers. Since the cost to acquire a customer can often be greater than the initial contract value, low retention can cause a company to actually lose money when they sign a new customer. It makes the stakes that much higher for delivering a digital experience that keeps users engaged and active in your product over time. Number 7 is time to value. This KPI answers the question, how long does it take for users to find value in my product? Time to value measures the amount of time from when a customer starts using your product to when they start deriving value from it. Many refer to the latter point as the aha moment, when a user has a clear grasp of why they need a specific piece of software. No matter how many new features or shiny updates you have on your roadmap, users need to feel the benefits of your product right away. This puts an added emphasis on a new user's first impression of your product. They need to understand both how your product works and the value it will bring them. Number 8 is Net Promoter Score, or NPS. This KPI answers the question, are users and customers happy with the product? NPS is one of the most common ways companies gauge customer loyalty. It's delivered via a one-question survey that asks, how likely are you to recommend this product to a friend or colleague? And customers answer on a scale of 0 to 10. Although some claim NPS to be too simplified, it has remained one of the most pervasive KPIs for customer satisfaction. After conducting an NPS survey, mark scores of 9 or 10 as promoters, 7 or 8 as passives, and 0 through 6 as detractors. Then subtract the percentage of detractors from the percentage of promoters to produce your Net Promoter Score. Here is the formula expressed mathematically. NPS equals the number of promoters divided by the number of respondents, minus the number of detractors divided by the number of respondents, multiplied by 100. NPS scores vary greatly by industry, so it's important to benchmark yourself against companies that are most similar to yours. More important is to benchmark yourself against yourself. Track NPS over time and look for any changes, especially as they coincide with business events like product updates and marketing campaigns. Also remember to measure NPS at the account and visitor level. Account level scores will help you understand your average sentiment, whereas user NPS helps uncover if there are any key personas driving your score up or down. Be sure to also include a section in your survey where users can provide written comments, as this information adds valuable context to numerical scores. Number 9 is top feature requests. This KPI answers the question, what do my users want from my product? The idea of knowing which features your users are requesting is pretty straightforward, but the tricky part is figuring out which requests are the most important. In this case, top can mean features that are requested most often, or requests that are tied to customer accounts with the highest ARR and therefore have the highest business impact potential. The biggest challenge of measuring feature requests is making sense of all requests that come in from different sources, so you can identify common themes and determine your users' most pressing needs. This first requires you to establish a centralized place where all feedback lives, ideally in a system that is easy to update and organize, and that everyone at your company can access. From there, you can view feature requests as a whole to understand which requests or types of requests appear most often and better prioritize your team's work. The 10th and final KPI in our list is product performance. This KPI answers the question, is my product performing efficiently and without bugs? Whether at work or in their personal life, software users expect their products to work and do so at optimal speeds. In this case, product performance refers to the speed at which it can return requests, downtime versus uptime, and the number of bugs. There's no denying that users perceive products that operate quickly and with as few glitches as possible to be the best. While it might be more interesting to track data points like stickiness or retention, you can't ignore product performance. Product leaders need to stay on top of these metrics and ensure their entire team understands the importance too. One of the key ways to measure product performance is through product response time, which measures the time taken by the product system to respond to any request. In order to instill this as a priority for your team, we recommend setting an internal performance benchmark and measuring yourself against it monthly or quarterly. For example, you might set the standard as requests delivered in 5 seconds or less, and hold yourself accountable to maintaining that standard for a sizable portion of your customer base or a sizable percentage of all requests. You should also monitor your downtime and uptime metrics on a weekly, monthly, or quarterly basis, or a combination of the three. When it comes to product bugs, there are a few measurement tactics to keep in mind. Track the breakdown of product bugs by feature, map bugs to product usage and prioritize fixing those that are in the most heavily used areas of your product, or measure the number of bugs reported versus the number of bugs you've fixed and track it over time to evaluate how well you're maintaining your product's quality and efficiency. A working product is table stakes, and an outage or pesky bug can severely impact your customer's experience and their perception of your business as a whole. Not to mention, it's never been easier to switch service or software providers. And those are the top 10 KPIs product-led teams can leverage. Here's a quick recap. Net revenue retention or NRR, adoption, stickiness, growth, product engagement score or PES, retention, time to value, net promoter score or NPS, top feature requests, and product performance. While operating with a data-first mindset is valuable, it's even more valuable when you know you're measuring the right things. We hope this lesson shed light on the essential metrics that every product team needs to keep top of mind. These 10 KPIs are a great starting point to help you determine which ones your company should focus on or to help you set a specific goal.